Welcome to the Scenic Bookcast.
Today, we are really getting into it. We're doing a true deep dive into, well, one of the great entrepreneurial stories ever told, Phil Knight's memoir, Shoe Dog.
And this isn't just a corporate history.
Not at all. It's more like a survival manual. It's about how to weaponize belief and, frankly, how to operate on the verge of constant financial collapse.
So our mission today is to go right back to the beginning, to those really messy, chaotic first years of Blue Ribbon Sports.
Exactly. The company that somehow, against every odd, becomes Nike. We're going to pull out the key nuggets that really define the whole thing.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's 1962. Phil Knight is 24.
And on paper, he looks set. He's got a Stanford MBA. He's an Army veteran.
But inside, he's a mess. He literally calls himself that shy, pale, rail-thin kid who's just searching for what's next.
He just has this desperate need for his work to feel like play, to have meaning, a purpose. He didn't want that typical corporate path.
And that's where his crazy idea comes from.
Right. And it all started with a paper he wrote for a class at Stanford. The logic was pretty simple, really.
He saw how Japanese cameras had just destroyed the German market.
So he thinks, why can't Japanese running shoes do the same exact thing in America?
It sounds so obvious now, but back then.
It was a massive gamble.
Yeah.
A total long shot. For him, it was this attempt to, as he puts it, leave a mark on the world.
And here's what I find so interesting. The mindset. His goal wasn't even to win.
No, not at first. It was more primal than that. His motivation was simply not wanting to lose the life he felt he was supposed to have.
Okay, so he's got the idea, but he needs money to even get started.
He sells his car, a black 1960 MG, for about $1,500.
Still not enough. He needs another 1,000, which means he has to go pitch his dad.
His dad, the publisher of the Oregon Journal, who often called him Buck, and was, let's say, deeply skeptical of most of his ideas.
He was completely expecting to get shot down.
Totally. But his father, he surprises him, he listens, he nods, and then he just gives him the cash.
And he says he regretted not traveling more when he was young. It was like a blessing on the journey itself.
Exactly. Not necessarily on the, business plan.
And Knight takes that to heart. This trip isn't just a scouting mission. It's a spiritual quest.
The itinerary is just wild. Hawaii, Tokyo, then Kathmandu, Cairo, Jerusalem.
He's not just a tourist. He's trying to find some kind of universal truth, a personal dharma, before he even starts the company.
Which brings us to the moment that changes everything. Kobe, Japan. The meeting with the Ontuka executives.
He talks about the tension in the room. He says the memory of World War II was right there, beside us, between us.
But he also noticed that the younger executives, they seem to have moved on. They had put it behind them.
And Knight knows this is it. This is his one shot.
Yeah, he feels that if he messes this up, he's, and I quote, doomed to spend the rest of my days selling encyclopedias or mutual funds.
Some junk he didn't care about. The stakes were just immense for him personally.
So even though he's terrified, he just makes up a company name on the spot.
Yeah.
Blue Ribbon Sports.
Just like that. He didn't have it planned.
Nope. Plucked it out of thin air. And then he places an order for $3,500 worth of shoes.
Wow. And the second the deal is done, the feeling.
It's pure euphoria. He says he ran all the way back to his hotel.
And then halfway there, he starts skipping and leaping through the air like a dancer.
See, that shows you it was never just a business deal for him. It was an escape. That was the high he was chasing.
But of course, the high wears off, the shoes arrive, and then the real work starts.
And he has this epiphany while driving home one day. He realizes why selling shoes feels so different from trying to sell encyclopedias door to door.
It wasn't selling.
Exactly. It wasn't selling at all. It was belief. He believed in running, and he believed these shoes were better.
He decides that belief itself is, well, it's irresistible. People were buying his conviction.
And you saw that in the early days. It was all mail order from his parents' house, but runners would just show up.
He describes them as these skinny, intense kids looking shifty-eyed and twitchy, like a junkie looking to score. They just had to have a pair of tigers.
That's the kind of cult following you need to start a movement. And Knight needed it because the company was a financial house of cards.
Okay, this is the part that always gets me. By day, he's an accountant at Price Waterhouse.
Right. He's seeing exactly why other companies fail. Not enough equity, way too much risk.
And yet, with Blue Ribbon, he does the exact opposite.
He runs it on an absolute razor's edge. He famously had a liabilities to equity ratio of 90-10.
Which is insane. That is just complete madness for an accountant.
He openly said that the roadside is littered with cautious, prudent entrepreneurs. He saw risk as a tool.
So was it genius or just recklessness? I mean, how did he not lose everything?
It was a strategy, a really dangerous one, but a strategy. By having no cash, he was forced to grow. He had to double his orders, sell them faster, and innovate on the fly because the bank was always calling.
There was no safety net.
None. Which meant he needed partners he could trust completely. And the first one was his old track coach, Bill Bowerman.
A man who, as Knight says, was famously frugal with praise, hoarded it like uncut diamonds.
But Bowerman's name gave them instant credibility. Even their own accountant, a guy named Del Hayes, said Bowerman's legend was the company's one priceless asset.
Then you get employee number one, Jeff Johnson.
Oh, what a character. An eccentric, a social worker who wrote these incredibly long, detailed letters to Knight about everything.
And he was so all in on the mission that he actually negotiated his own salary down.
Yeah, from $460 a month to $400. He just wanted in.
And Johnson's hands-off, autonomous role immediately pays off.
Massively. He starts collecting feedback from runners and turns it directly into R&D.
And this leads to maybe the first great Nike innovation. A runner needs more cushion for the Boston Marathon.
So Johnson just figures it out. He takes a pair of shower shoes, cuts out the rubber soles, and gets a cobbler to graft them into the Tiger Flats.
And just like that, you have the first full-length midsole cushioning.
An industry standard basically invented in a garage because one runner had a problem. That was the ethos.
Meanwhile, the company is still just chaos. They finally get a real office.
A proper office, yeah. Next door to a tavern called the Pink Bucket.
And the rent was $50 a month?
Dirt cheap. But the walls were so thin that every day at 4 p.m. sharp, the jukebox would start blasting and the whole office would just be thumping with music.
Into this scene steps Bob Woodall, employee number 2.
Woodall was a former track star who is now in a wheelchair, a paraplegic.
And he becomes the operations manager, literally organizing the chaos. He'd use an old javelin to close the windows because they were stuck.
He even points out the irony himself. A man who can't walk peddling shoes?
But his bond with Knight was built on that shared drive.
That desire to win, or at least not lose. They just focused on one small task at a time to keep from being overwhelmed by the constant dread of bankruptcy.
And speaking of commitment, this is also when Knight meets his wife, Penny.
She was the top student in his accounting class at Portland State. He hires her for $2 an hour to do the books.
Because she was whip smart.
And she got it. She understood the vision immediately. Their relationship moved so fast, they basically had to get married.
Right, because the university was not a fan of teachers dating students.
It's just another example of how the personal and the professional were completely tangled. Total commitment from everyone.
And they needed that trust because soon they had to break away from Onitsuka. A competitor was moving in.
This forces them to become their own brand, which leads to this critical meeting in 1971 to pick a name and a logo.
Knight's brilliant suggestion was Dimension 6.
A truly terrible name. Thankfully, everyone else in the room knew it and shot him down.
So Jeff Johnson saves the day again. He comes up with Nike.
He'd been looking at big brands, like Clorox, Xerox. He noticed they were often short, 2 syllables, with a hard sound like a K or an X.
Nike, the Greek goddess of victory. It just fit.
And the logo, the swoosh. They paid a design student, Carolyn Davidson, $35 for it.
$35. And Knight's reaction when he first saw it.
Famously underwhelming. He just said, I don't love it. Maybe it will grow on me.
Incredible. But they immediately found the perfect person to embody that new brand.
Steve Prefontaine.
Prefontaine. Yeah. The rebel runner with the butterscotch MG Knight said he was every bit the artist that Kesey was.
Pre gave the brand a soul. But, a soul doesn't pay the bills.
And the biggest bill was about to come due. Not from a competitor, but from the U.S. government.
The American selling price crisis. In 1977, the U.S. Customs Service hits them with a bill for $25 million.
An amount that would have just instantly bankrupted them.
And the ASP rule was just brutal. It meant the import tax wasn't based on what Nike paid for the shoes in Japan.
No, it was based on the price of their American competitor shoes.
So because American shoes were expensive, the tax on Nike's cheaper imports was artificially inflated to a crippling level. It was a death sentence.
And this is the pressure cooker that forges that legendary internal culture.
The butt-face retreats. These intense off-the-record meetings where they'd hash everything out.
Giving each other nicknames like Doomsday for the accountant and Rolling Thunder for their lawyer.
It was all about brutal honesty and complete trust. It's the only way they could figure out how to stare down a $25 million threat.
Ultimately, it forces their hand. They have to go public.
It was the only way to get the capital to solve the ASP problem and finally fix their cash flow for good.
And after all those years of fighting, Knight has this philosophical shift.
Right. He realizes that business isn't really about profit. He says profit is just a necessary process, like blood for the body.
It's the thing that enables the higher aim.
And for him, that aim was creating things, contributing, helping people live more fully through sport. Winning wasn't about money. It was about enabling that creative purpose.
So the IPO happens. December 2nd, 1980. The stock is set at $22 a share.
And the company becomes a massive financial success overnight. But Knight says he didn't feel joy or relief.
He felt regret. He wished he could go back and do it all over again.
And that says everything, doesn't it? The goal was never the finish line. It was the struggle. It was the race itself.
So for you listening, let's distill this. The lessons from Shoe Dog are so clear. First, belief.
Your belief in what you're doing is the single most powerful tool you have. You have to be absolutely convicted.
Second, the team. You need unconventional people like Johnson and Woodall who you can trust to be autonomous.
People who are in it for the mission, not just the paycheck.
And third, you have to understand that just surviving is the first form of winning.
They were defined by the constant battles with banks, with competitors, with the government. Winning, at first, just meant not losing that day.
It really makes you question your own work, doesn't it? How closely is your own search for, a purpose connected to what you do every day?
When you can merge those two, that's when work really does become play.
And let's end with this final thought. Think about where Knight's running journey really started.
He got cut from his high school baseball team. He said it knocked me sideways.
Total rejection. But his mom pushed him to try track, and he found something he was good at, something no one could take away.
It's a good thing his mother was there. She was the one who stopped a podiatrist from putting him in arch supports that would have hobbled him. She insisted he could run fast.
So the question for you to think about is this. How often is it our biggest failure, our most painful rejection, that actually puts us on the path to our life's most meaningful work?
As Knight's father told him, it's never just business. It never will be. If it becomes just business, that means business is very bad.
Think about that intersection of struggle and purpose. We'll leave you with that until our next deep dive.